We do want to begin our show with a conversation between our very own business reporter Madalyn Buursma and Professor Paul Isely with Grand Valley State University. They discussed how certain changes and recent changes to the nation's economy and how that is really impacting us here in West Michigan, or how it could impact us in the foreseeable future. That conversation is how we begin today's edition of the Daily 8.
And I'm so excited to welcome Professor Paul Isely with the GVSU Seidman College of Business here to talk about how national headlines and current events might be impacting the local economy. Professor, thank you so much for coming.
Yeah, great to be here.
So let's start out with the Fed. So last week they lowered the interest rates by 1/4 percentage point. There's 2 more cuts that could be coming later this year. Tell me about, first, what was their reasoning for the lowered interest rate?
Yeah, the reasoning behind the lower interest rates was that the economy is slowing down. So what they're concerned about is that unemployment's starting to pick up. The Federal Reserve has a dual mandate. That mandate requires that they worry about inflation, but also that they worry about unemployment. Unfortunately, the lever that they have, if they try to worry about unemployment, picks up inflation. And if they try to slow down inflation, it tends to also slow down employment. So they don't get to choose both. They have to choose one or the other. And now unemployment's starting to worry them, and so they're trying to push that lever more in that direction.
So then, do you think this lowered interest rate could have a big impact on local businesses and local consumers here in West Michigan?
Not yet. So what we're seeing is that mortgage rates are barely moving, and they're barely moving because mortgage rates are set not by the Federal Reserve. The Federal Reserve changes really short run rates, and the only people who actually borrow for those short term periods of time are people like banks or entities like banks. So what we're seeing is that the longer term rates aren't moving as much, and they're not moving as much because people are afraid about longer term U.S. debt. And they're afraid about longer term U.S. debt because of the large budget deficits and because people in other countries are less confident about saving in the United States right now because we've made them feel like they shouldn't be here.
And so then, sticking with the Fed, President Donald Trump is trying to get Lisa Cook removed from the Fed's boards of governors. As of taping, he's asked the Supreme Court for an emergency order to remove her, but it hasn't made a decision yet. In your opinion, could this have an impact on the economy?
Yes. I mean, one of the reasons that other people in other countries really like to save in the United States is that we have a very stable monetary policy. And we have a very stable monetary policy because it's being done by the Federal Reserve, all right? If they believe that this is going to be taken on by the political class, then monetary policy becomes much less stable. So we know that with each attack on the Federal Reserve to try and take away some of their independence, that it has affected the willingness of people to invest in the United States. The second thing that's going on here is that President Trump is trying to get more doves on the Federal Reserve. All right, so you have hawks and doves. Hawks are more worried about the inflation. Doves are more worried about the unemployment. And as we get more and more doves on, we expect interest rates to go down faster and more. So we expect over the course of the next year that those short-term interest rates will go down much faster, and this is a symptom of that. It doesn't mean that the rate that you pay on your mortgage will go down as fast. So one of the things that consumers are going to see is the rate they get for saving money is going to go down faster than the rates that they take for borrowing money. So it's going to hurt savers more than it's going to help buyers, at least initially.
And so then another national headline, Trump has imposed a new $100,000 fee on H-1B visa applications. Mm-hmm. How will this impact local businesses? Do they rely pretty heavily on those visa holders?
Well, interestingly enough, West Michigan doesn't do a lot of H-1Bs. We're well below the national average for our population. And part of the reason is that we're just starting to build a tech industry here. And a large amount of H-1Bs go to the tech industry. So it will affect us, and it will affect us because it's going to drive up the prices of high-tech people. So it's going to be more expensive to get into the high-tech game. And it's going to make it harder for us here in West Michigan, therefore, to start expanding those tech items that we're so excited about with Tech Week.
Yeah, I know the city of Grand Rapids is trying to become a tech hub. Do you see that happening with this new visa fee?
Well, it makes it harder. I think that Grand Rapids and the Right Place and all the entities that are working very hard on this, including Grand Valley, will continue to be able to move the ball forward. This just puts another speed bump in our ability to do that.
And then lastly, a new study found that 1 in 3 Americans have no emergency savings. You can find that link on our website, woodtv.com. Is that normal? How concerning is that?
Well, yes, it's normal, but I actually think their number is probably a little low. What we do know is that you have to be in the top 40% of income earners for your family to actually break even, meaning that they earn as much as they spend. And you have to be in the top 70% to actually be earning enough money to have a safety account. So what this means is that families that are earning less than $80,000 a year certainly are finding it almost impossible to have a safety net. Those earning less than $100,000 are just basically breaking even, and you have to get to about $130,000 a year to start saving and having a safety net.
And of course, that's very concerning for consumers, the individual consumers, if they don't have a safety net. But what does that mean for the economy as a whole?
Well, it means that over the last few years, the economy's become more and more dependent on those people in the top 20 or 30%. And so the growth that we've seen more recently has really been a lot more to do with being able to sell to that top group. And so as we've come out of COVID, where we had sort of brought up the bottom 50%, and they had more wealth, they were doing better off, their incomes were going up faster than everybody else's, and was undoing some of that income disparity that existed 10 years prior. In the 5 years since we've come through COVID, we're now seeing that turn the other way around. And so that's creating greater income disparity, and income disparity creates political unrest. So we're much more worried about that than we were before.
Well, Professor, thank you so much for taking the time and for sharing your expertise with us. I so appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
And special thanks goes out to Madalyn and Professor Isely for that interview. Again, we are going to have more information on just the latest of what's going on business-wise here in the state of Michigan, specifically here in West Michigan, over on our website, woodtv.com. You can stay up to date on everything coming and going business-wise as well across West Michigan in our Building West Michigan page, courtesy of Madalyn's hard work that can also be found on our website, woodtv.com.